Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Boris Effects live stream for virtual NAB. Let me just stop this. Hello, everyone. It is Brian saying hello. We have a great presentation today. Let me jump out of speaker view. Let me jump in. So we have a great presentation today. We are going to be looking at Continuum 2020.5 and the it's been that kind of day, people. It's literally been that type of day. Hello, everyone. Let's start over. It is Wednesday, third day of our virtual NAB. We had some amazing presentations lined up today. We're going to be looking at Continuum 2020.5, the brand new transitions that are in there, and updates to the remover effect. Joining me today is Peter McCauley. Hey, Pete, how you doing?
Hello, doing great, thanks.
Pete is the Senior Product Manager for Continuum, and also joining us today doing our presentations is Vin Morreale. Hey, Vin. Vin, is your mic on? There you go.
First technical issue of the day. Hi, how's it going? I'm Vin. I don't know how mics work.
Vin, definitely not first technical issue of the day.
Oh, okay. Well, all right then. I'd like to add to them.
Been a little rough day today. Everything is great. Hopefully that I don't kill this stream live halfway through. Apologize to anyone who watched the Silhouette Paint. I had a little technical difficulties, but this one's going to go swimmingly. So the Boris Effects NAB sale is currently going on. That is 50% off multi-product bundles, anything new, a perpetual license to Sapphire and Continuum, Continuum Mocha Pro, Sapphire, Continuum, and Mocha Pro. Those are 50% off, 25% off all products. So if you love some of these new transitions Vin is going to show today, you can upgrade for 25% off. Great deal, 25% off everything we sell. We're giving away a ton of gifts today. Let's see what we're giving away. During this live stream, we'll be giving away a $1,000 gift certificate. Well, actually, not a $1,000 gift certificate. It is a registration for School of Motion's summer sessions. That's up to $1,000 value, depending upon the class you pick. If you guys don't know School of Motion, definitely check them out. They're amazing, professional motion graphics training, and they do visual effects training as well. So really cool stuff. Big up to Joey and the friends at School of Motion. We're giving away an Akusanos ERA 4 Bundle Pro. Those are unbelievably good audio plugins. We're giving away a seat of the Boris Effects Bundle, Sapphire Continuum Mocha Pro 1-year subscription, a 1-year subscription to Silhouette, a 1-year subscription to Silhouette Paint, and a 1-year subscription to Avid Media Composers. So you definitely want to tune in. Like, subscribe, share. That's how you can enter to win. Just say hello to us, leave a comment. Our colleague Jessie is behind the scenes. She is going to be picking randomly from all our social media streams. We're streaming right now on a whole bunch, I think 10 different channels, a bunch of channels on Facebook, a bunch of channels on YouTube. That is all in theory. For all I know, we could be streaming nowhere right now. We're on Twitch as well. So go ahead and like, subscribe, share, and you will be entered to win one of those amazing prizes. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to throw it to Vin, and he's going to take us through the new transitions in Continuum 2020.5.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. All right, let me just share my screen here. See if we can get this working. All right, cool. So anyway, hi, guys. I'm Vin with Boris Effects, obviously. And today we're going to be looking at Continuum 2020. And as Brian mentioned, we're going to look at some transitions, but I also want to take a look at BCC Remover. There's been some great updates to it. We have some great new on-screen widgets, and we're going to look at sort of, we have new absolute and relative offset modes that we're going to look at, some color and detail adjustments, and some of the award-winning Mocha. Mocha has been integrated directly into BCC Remover. And we're going to use that for a lot of our masking and motion tracking. And of course, after that, we're going to take a look at some new transitions, including my personal favorite, which is BCC Crash Zoom Dissolve and Spin Blur Dissolve. So we got a lot to look at. So let's get started. I'm going to load up my Remover demo. Now, what we're going to look at is Remover is great for, obviously, removing. It's a clone spot remover. So what it does is it takes a spot and we'll remove it. So if you look at this actress's mole right here, we can use remover to completely remove that from the scene. Now, I should let you know that I am primarily an After Effects user. I tend to work in After Effects, Vegas, and a bit of Resolve. So if any of you, as you can see, I'm working in Avid today. So if any of you are Avid users and you go, why is he pressing that button? That doesn't make any sense. That's the reason. So please bear with me and forgive me if I press the wrong button somehow. But the important point to take away from that actually is that whatever we do, whatever you see me do here in Avid with the remove, with BCC remove, you can do it in pretty much any host that we support. So AE, Premiere, Vegas, Resolve. Don't get scared away because, I don't use Avid or something like that. Whatever host you work in, the tips and tricks that you see here today can be extended into Premiere, After Effects, and all the others. So without further ado, let's take a look at how we go from having this actress with a little mole right here, how we end up removing that. So here's my original footage. Let's get on a better frame there. And what I want to do is I want to remove this. So I'm going to go up to my image restoration category. And in that, I'm going to select remover and drag that right onto my footage. And I get a spot here. And what I mentioned before, remover is a spot clone. So if I kind of launch the effect editor, you can see that I have these widgets here. And what I mean by a spot clone is that I can set my source. So let's say I set my destination. We'll drag that right over here using these handy widgets. I can set my source and destination. And what remover is doing is it's not essentially like Mocha Pro remove module inserting something new. It's basically cloning whatever we have at the source, cloning all those pixels and placing them into our destination. So it's a clone remover. If you're going to do something like an insert or remove, that's the time when you probably want to use Mocha Pro. But for something like this where we want to remove a little blemish, so say her mole here, or maybe some of the little imperfections that we see up here, we can use this to very quickly within Avid's timeline go and remove that. So,
hey, Vin.
Yes.
Do you mind if I interrupt there for a second?
Oh, please do.
Okay, I just, the only reason I wanted to interrupt at this stage was, we had a couple of demos earlier today. We saw Silhouette and Mocha. And just for the sake of clarity, I just want people to know, all the folks that are watching this right now, where Vin is going to do an actual spot clone remove, basically. So he's just cloning from point A to point B, source to dest. But this is it's a 1 point clone. So just to differentiate between what you might see inside of, say, Silhouette Paint, it's a little bit different insofar as, we're moving one spot. So just wanted to make that clarification to anybody out there. And plus, we're in Avid.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. Okay, so let's see, where was I? So we're gonna look at some of these widgets, and one of the improvements that we have in Continuum 2020 are the widgets that you see here on the screen. And if you remember, if you're using a previous version of Continuum, you probably remember that the original widgets kind of look like these crosshairs. The advantage to these is not only can I set my source and my destination, but now I can make adjustments to my radius and my feathering, and basically the angle and sort of all my positioning, and I can do that without taking my eyes off of what I'm going for here. So, in the past, you might have to go over here and, open up the clone and then go over and adjust all your parameters, then look back over. This is a nice, easy way of sort of streamlining the usability of the effect and getting your effect to work quickly and easily. Now, you'll notice that we have, as I mentioned, we have our source offset, and I can set that anywhere. So let's say I set it over here. Actually, I'm never going to do that again because that's horrifying. But basically, what I'm doing is I'm cloning from the source to the destination. Now, you'll notice that I'm able to very easily move and reposition my source offset everywhere. So if I were to position it over here, if I go to grab my destination, you're going to see that it's moving in relative position to my source. This is because by default, remover is set up to with a spot offset mode of relative offset. I have full control over my source. I can place it wherever I want, but wherever I move the destination, it's always going to maintain the relative distance. And this is really great if you're doing something like a rig removal, or if you're working on a steady object like a wall. However, if we're working with someone where she's got different types of skin tones and imperfections in the skin, and I really want to get in there and manually move everything, I can select, for my spot offset mode, I can select absolute. And what this does is this allows me to not only, grab the correct portion, not only select where I'm placing my source, but I can also manually set my destination. So it's not going to move in relative distance to my source. I have to manually set each of them. And this, if you're working on something like I'm doing here, where I'm trying to remove that little spot, this is really good because I can go in and I can sort of individually tweak the position of each of them. I'm just not going to maintain that relative position that I had before. Now, once I basically say, all right, I'm going to try and I'm going to clone this area right up here. It's fairly close to where her mole was. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to lower my feathering just a little bit so you can see this, maybe increase the radius a tad. If I go and I start to play that back, it's not very convincing. You can see that it's not tracking, it's not moving with her face. So I'm going to need to motion track this because she's going to be moving up and down. Sometimes we'll have some camera movement. So how are we going to get this to track with her face? Well, I'm going to come in here, and because, as I mentioned before, with Continuum 2020.5, we now have the power of the Academy Award-winning Mocha Motion Tracker built right into BCC Remover. So I'm just going to go here, and I'm going to click Launch Mocha Motion Tracker, and that will pull up Mocha. And as you can see here in our Essentials view, we have our clone source, and we have our clone destination. Now you'll notice, if you're unfamiliar with the tracking, Mocha motion tracking, you'll notice that I've got two different options here. I have my clone destination, which appears as this crosshair, and I have this clone destination search area. Now, just to show you what the difference between these is, I'm going to go in and I'm going to move my clone source and my clone destination somewhere other than directly in the center. It's important to note the difference here, because what this circle is, it's actually the search area where we're telling Mocha, I want you to track the movement of all the pixels inside of this region. So it's going to track all the pixels inside the clone destination, as well as the clone search area. And the reason I separated it is because it's very easy, especially when we're working with the spot removal tool, to make the assumption, I did this when I was first working with it, that this is where our clone remover is going to be. But if I were to suddenly close out of this without tracking, you'll notice that my source and destination point jumped up here. That's because these points here are linked to the crosshairs. So make sure that when you are doing your Mocha tracking, you are making sure that, yes, this is the area that I want to track. I want to track the movement of her face, but I need to make sure that my clone destination is going to be positioned right there on her mole, and my clone source is going to be positioned right here. Now, if you need to try, since Mocha is a planar tracker, if you need to do something slightly different than this and you need to track from a different area, you can, of course, say, I'm going to move it over here and make the adjustments if that's going to give you a cleaner track. But from the many rehearsals that I did on this project, I find that this works really well. Now, because this is a demo, I could just go over here and click track. And Mocha will do its thing and it will track all the frames, but we don't want to sit here streaming, tracking, because that's as exciting as that is. What I can do here is show you something really cool, which is I'm going to go in here and I'm just actually going to completely delete my effect trackers. I'm going to go up here to File, select Merge Project, and I, prior to this demo, went and did all the tracking, and now I've merged it in. So I have a pre-baked motion track for you here, and you can see that the Mocha is clinging to those areas very, very nicely. This is really kind of one of the reasons I wanted to show you the ability to merge a previous track, is to show you how easy it is if you're moving, if you're working in Avid and you've got an effect editor who's working in After Effects, if they create something, they can save it in the individual parts. So they can save their tracking data and you can load it, they can save the tracking data out of Mocha in AE. You can load it up in Avid right in the timeline. It's very easy to do that and get really, really good, accurate results. So now that this has been tracked, I'm just going to stop it. I'm going to come over here. It's going to ask me if I want to save, and I definitely want to save. And then what you can see here is as I sort of scrub through, you can see it's still got a really hard to find edge. So we're going to have to feather that out. But we're getting, for this, we're getting a fairly reasonable track that it's moving with her face. All right, so how do we get this to blend a little bit more? Well, I could certainly come over here to my clone and go into the feather section and adjust the feathering. But as I mentioned before, our widgets make that a lot easier for me to go in and sort of just fine tune that. So we'll go in, we'll adjust the feathering a bit and get a decent blend on there. Now, one thing that you'll notice, I'm just going to click off of here so you can see the difference. One thing that you'll notice is as I do that, because we're sampling from this area, there's a bit of a dark shadow here that looks a little bit odd here. And we're going to see this. I'm going to show you how to fix that, but I'm going to show you in greater detail in just a moment. But one of the things that you can do is we can come down here inside of our clone, and we have the ability to adjust the clone color, which is pulling the luma from the source area. So if I come and adjust the clone color, I can actually pull back on that. And as you see, it's starting to actually pull out some of that shadow that's in there so we can get a nicer blend, a smoother blend. And then if we come through here, you can see that very quickly, we have been able to remove her mole, and then we can do a quick, let's do this. We'll turn this off, and you can see right in Avid's timeline, very, very easy to do a quick remove. I did this very quickly just now. Obviously, if you're going to do this for production, you'll spend a little bit more time. You can adjust the feathering. You can take a look at it and adjust your clone color, and then we're going to look at some of the detail and the detail size when we're dealing with a much larger replacement. But for just removing the single mole, that works perfectly. I could hold down Alt and add another instance of remover. Let's say I wanted to get rid of these marks that are up here on her forehead. And I'll show you how we can work with multiple ones in just a moment. All right. So in terms of removing for spot cloning, that is pretty much how you work with it. What if you have something a bit more complicated? So I have this actress over here, and she's a lovely actress, but she has these very high contrast crow's feet in here. And I want to go through, and I'm going to use Mocha, I'm going to use BCC remove to simply sort of blend that out a little bit. Take a few years off of her, her eyes here. I'm going to leave in some of the detail because what we don't want to do is go so severe that it suddenly looks fake and that it looks plastic. And this is where, as I mentioned, as we saw briefly before, the color and the detail aspect parameters are really going to help us out, going from something like this to something a lot smoother and taking some years off. So here's our original footage. And just as before, I'll go up to my image restoration, and I'm going to go to BCC remover, drop that right on there. And I have my clone spot. And if I were to suddenly position that right here, let's go back here, just as we did before, we'll go for absolute. If I'm going to go here and make an adjustment, the problem that I'm running into is a spot isn't really going to cut it. It's, we have this round shape, and we need to be able to do to work within a regular shape. So in order to do that, the spot remover is not going to work for me. So what I'll do is I'll come up to my removal method. I'm going to go from clone spot to clone shape. And as soon as I do, I get a new type of widget here. But I also get this message that asks me to enable pixel chooser and select a shape. So if I close my clone and I look here, Mocha has now changed from Mocha tracker to Mocha Pixel Chooser. So this means that when I launch Mocha, it's not looking for those source and destination points that we saw previously. What it wants me to do is, in fact, create a Mocha mask. So I can come up here to my X-spline and actually go in here and draw a mask. And then I can go through and track it. Now, as I did before, I already have a pre-baked one, but what I want to show you is without tracking exactly what this is doing. So I'm going to just create this mask, and I'm going to save out just to show you. And you can see here that now I have a mask, and if I start moving my offset, this is moving a relative position to my source. So I'm going to just move it over here, and then I can start finessing it. I'm going to need to do some tracking on this, which I'm going to show you in just a moment, but this allows me to create irregular shapes that I can then use to clone and replace. So let's go back in and actually make this work out a bit. So I'm going to go and I'm going to launch Mocha, and I am going to, in fact, delete this mask. And as I did before, I'm going to go up, I'm going to select merge, and let's see, this is her left eye technically. I'm going to select left eye and open it up. And here you can see that I created a mask earlier and I went and tracked it. So it's tracking with the motion of her movement in the scene. I'm not going to go and I'm not getting everything. So I'm not going to try and create a mask here to do sort of up in the eye region here, or even like every single wrinkle that's out here. And the reason is because I still want there to be some blending there. I still want to have some detail. So it doesn't need to be perfect and all-encompassing. We just need to basically say, we're going to soften this area. So once you have your mask, and once you've tracked it, which we do over here, or once you've loaded a mask that you've created earlier and a pre-baked one, we're going to go over, we're going to hit save. And that's going to create the mask that we see here. And you see that it has the hard edge. And what I'll do is I'll just come in here and I will bump it down. That shows a little bit too much. That's too close. So let's bring it down so that we get a little bit more of her cheek. I think for this example, that might actually be pretty good. We notice that there is a lot of color differentiation there. We'd still have a little bit of her wrinkles that are in there, but let's actually get those out a bit and we'll do some work here. All right, so now we've replaced the wrinkles that were here with something closer to the lower part of her cheek. We have a color difference, and we also have a texture difference, and we have this hard edge. Now, if you remember from when we did the clone spot, I can just go into clone, and I don't have the feather. I don't have the feathering options here. The reason is this isn't part of remover. This isn't remover's feathering that we're going to be using here. This is actually a mask that has been created in Pixel Chooser. You can actually view it by clicking View Mask Matte. So this mask exists in Mocha, and we have to tell Mocha, I want to feather out this mask. So my feathering options are actually going to be down here in Pixel Chooser Mask. I'm going to come down, select Feather, and really start to blend that out a bit. And already, with very little work, that's starting to look better. We've got some nice feathering here. It doesn't quite match the coloring. We have a lot of darkness here. It's a little bit lighter here, and we're starting to lose some of the detail that was originally in her lower eye. She kind of has this raccoon look going on here. So what we need to do is we want to fix this. To do that, we're going to close out all of our Mocha stuff, and we're going to go back to our clone parameters. This is where clone color, clone detail, and detail size will come into play. There are other options here, for example, opacity, and opacity is just going to reduce the opacity of the mask. For right now, we're going to leave that at 100, but we're going to focus on clone color and clone detail. 1 second here while I pull up some notes. So, as I mentioned before, clone color is pulling in the chroma from our destination point. So it's pulling in the chroma details from her underneath her eye. So if I start adjusting that, we're going to start getting a little bit more and more of that shadow that's in there. So we can start blending that a bit more. So we go from something where it really doesn't match to something a little bit lower, where it's now starting to blend in just a bit more. We're getting some of the shadowing in here, and it's matching the color a little bit. Our detail, clone detail, is going to pull in the luma from the original source. So it's going to start pulling in some of the texture, some of the lightness, and some of the details that are in the original source. So if I pull it all the way down, we're going to see what was originally under the source, because we're going to lose all of the detail from our source image. We're going to see what was actually, under the destination. So let's just pull up the details a little bit. And if I do it all the way to 100, which is where it was, you sort of get this fuzzy plastic look. It looks fine, but it doesn't quite look real. So if I were to come back and let's just pull down a little bit, I'm getting a little bit of the detail from underneath, from under the source. So we still see that she has these very human wrinkles that reflect her age, but they're not as pronounced as they were before. We also need to look at, there's different texturing underneath her eye than there is sort of on her cheek. So we can adjust her detail size so that more detail, more skin detail begins to go through, begins to show through. And this is going to allow you, as you adjust the clone detail and then the detail size, you can start to smooth out those harsh wrinkles while maintaining the texture of her skin. And this is going to give you a significantly more realistic replacement, where it doesn't look plastic, but it also doesn't look quite so harsh. So it blends in very nicely. As you go through it, because we're doing a demo here, so we're trying to get it as close to perfect as possible, but you definitely want to start adjusting and finessing the detail, the color, to really get the look that works for you. Because we're working with one eye here, we also need to make sure that we're working with both eyes. So we want to basically work with multiple instances of remover. We don't want to create, you can create multiple masks in Mocha, but that's really not going to work in this case, because we're using the mask to sort of offset the remove here. So if I were to come over here, because I am in Avid, I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to drop remover right on top. And that is going to give me 2 instances of BCC remover. And then, because this is in default, we're going to go from clone spot to clone shape. This is now a separate instance of clone shape. We'll go into Mocha, can launch Mocha. And now I can create a whole new mask, or because I really enjoy pre-baking everything, I can merge a mask that I've already created that's going to take care of the wrinkles here. So again, this was created prior to it. I created the mask, and then I used it to track the movement of her face. We'll go through here, save that out. And again, we'll just do the same thing as before, where we're going to adjust the position until we get something, oops, grab the wrong one, that really works to sort of give her that smoother look. We got a little bit of too much darkness on this side, so let's kind of move some of that out. Just make small adjustments. As before, we'll come down to our mask. We'll adjust the feathering a bit. And then we'll go into our clone color and clone detail. We'll pull back on some of the colors so that we get a little bit of that shadowing coming back in. And we'll adjust the detail so that we get some of the texture that's under there. And so you can...
That's looking really nice, Vin. I like the patchwork you're doing there, and also using some frequency separation to pull in different sizes of detail from the image and patching it over the other to make it a more photorealistic result. It's super nice. It's a great tool. It's like, I don't think there's anything in Avid which could actually touch something like this. It's so powerful. And what's great about it is, I just wanted to mention again, is that you could save this out and then reuse it in any host. If you want to finish in a different host, say you want to finish in AE, you could take all this work and just like bring it over there and finish it out, or vice versa. Somebody could be working in the background, setting up a basic clone for you in AE, pass this over to you, Vin, to finish. You go in, do all your frequency separation stuff, and set the clone to be just right, and render it out, right?
Absolutely. And it's very easy. Like, let's say that I did a lot of this work. It's not just the Mocha mask itself. Let's say I did all of the work in AE or in Resolve, and I had finessed it and got it exactly where I wanted it to. When I showed you how to merge that Mocha mask a moment ago, that's just pulling in the tracking data. That's just pulling in the information for the mask itself. But because I'm doing this on the fly, let's say that I said, okay, well, I've already created this elsewhere. So all I really have to do is come down here to preset, load my preset, and then this was her right eye. So I just saved this one out from a previous project. And now the one that I had significantly more time than doing it on the fly with, you can see that I've loaded that preset, and now that's matching. I mean, that looks even better than what I had just done right here and now. And I can come up here and go to the to her other eye. Same thing. I'm going to go here. I'm going to load that preset. This was her. I want to make sure I get this right. Her left eye, and then you can see there, far more detail. Spent a lot of time. I actually spent about 3 or 4 hours this evening, this morning, working on sort of just finessing that and trying to get it really nice. So you can do things very, very quickly directly from the Avid timeline. Or, if you have someone that's working in Resolve, or if you have someone that's working in Vegas or AE or Premiere or any of the other hosts, you can, your editor, your effect editor can create that, save off the preset, and then you can just quickly load that right into Avid. And then I'm not going to render it here in Avid, but you can see that, we're getting very smooth playback. That is tracking very, very nicely. And, let's do this like the nice comparison that we had done before. If I turn all of these off, this is what we originally started with. And then this is what we are ending up with only, a few short minutes of work. And so, with Remover, that makes it's really, really easy to get some really, really great results. And again, you're not completely removing everything. And that's important. You don't want to slap everything on there and make it look like
Pancake.
Like if we pancaked makeup on there, or we've been, hey, clearly we took out some of these wrinkles. We want to leave some of that in there. We want that detail. And Remover gives you the power to really finesse that, to bring in that detail, to bring in those shadows, to create one of the most realistic looks I've seen.
Say Vin?
Yes.
You could also use the compare mode, right?
I could
show before
actually.
and after. It's a great feature. And
Great job, Vin. Great job.
Yeah,
I'm
super.
I'm finished with lunch, so I can talk now. No, lots of love online for your work. Like really, really stunning work. It almost looks like a different person. It really is cool. And I can't agree more. Like anytime I do this type of beauty work, right, I tend to go way too far and then pull it back, right? Like pull it back, because everyone knows when we see that, like, you could call it like the Barbara Walters effect, or like when you put pantyhose in front of the lamp, that super soft, like 1980s look.
But it almost looks like 1960s if you watch the old Star Trek, whenever they have, cuts to an actress and they're like in this super soft focus, and it doesn't look real.
Yep.
Some
other questions just quickly, just to address. Continuum working in Catalina, right? That's a big yes, but Avid Media Composer is not supported for Catalina yet, and I
that's correct. Yes,
totally could be wrong on that.
Right.
But yeah, I think they are literally very close. So when Avid Media Composer supports Catalina, we will be ready. We are already ready in other applications. Continuum, supports a whole bunch of different applications, like Pete has mentioned, like After Effects, Resolve, Fusion. Pete, I know the answer to that. Like when I say Fusion,
yeah,
Nuke, yes. I always tell people when we're talking about some of these OFX hosts, download a trial, try it out. That's the best bet. There are certain things which may work in Fusion, certain things may not work. So I don't think Fusion is an officially fully supported host, but like the remover may work fine, so definitely the best way to always to download a trial, check it out. Another question from YouTube, Vin, just roughly, how long in your head would you think that track would take you to do from start to finish? Just the track, is that like a minutes or a seconds thing?
It's a couple seconds. This is a I believe a 3-second clip.
Yeah.
So when I tracked it before, it was about 5-10 seconds to go through and track the whole thing. So it didn't take very long. I just didn't want to force everybody on this live stream to watch it tick away as it did it. But it depends on obviously how long your track is, what the footage resolution you're using. Obviously 4K is gonna take a lot longer than HD. But by and large, on the 3-second track, it tracked very, very quickly for me on my system.
Great job. Like I said, everyone's enjoying this presentation, so keep it going.
So wonderful. The one thing that the last thing that I just wanted to touch on is, because we've talked about it working in various all the various hosts. There are slight differences between hosts, and one thing that I want to point out is especially for Vegas users, Vegas handles on-screen widgets differently than After Effects, Premiere, even Resolve. So in terms of if you're in Vegas, these widgets will look slightly different. You'll use their native controls for doing that, but you're still going to be able to do exactly the same thing, get the same results. It's just that your interface is designed differently if you are a Sony Vegas user. But as far as removes go, for BCC Remover, that's pretty much it for that. I think one of the great things to just to recap on that is that with 2020.5, you got these updates to the widgets. That makes it easier to use. You keep your eyes on the footage. You have full integration of Mocha's Academy Award-winning masking and motion tracking. With that absolute and relative modes, you get sort of this more robust, more control over all of your cloning removes. And we've been talking about, the enhanced color and detail adjustments allow you to really kind of fine tune the look, of your footage. So with that in mind, unless there are any more questions on Remover, I can move over to, we can take a look at some of the new transitions that are happening in Continuum 2020.
We like transitions.
Shout out to our friend Brady Betzel watching the live stream. What's up, Brady? Brady did a awesome presentation for us on Monday, so he's enjoying the Remover demo.
Also an Avid.
He's looking at Nuke, my friend Brady. Definitely look at Nuke. Yes, I think someone explained it in the forums, like a really great explanation of the difference between Nuke and Avid. But the nodal-based compositing, I mean, Nuke is like obviously one of the world's best compositors, so definitely worth taking your time to look at.
Yeah.
All right, let's see some transitions, man.
Yeah. So they're in Continuum 2020.5. We have two brand new transitions. One of which, my absolute favorite. Not that I'm playing favorites; they're both fantastic. But my favorite is BCC Crash Zoom, which is going to give you these really awesome sort of rapid zoom distortions between two clips. And you can see that, it's just, you can zoom in, you can create this tiled effect. These are really great transitions, probably not for like a family wedding video. Maybe you could use it, but if you're doing sort of, like the dancing or transitions between tutorials. So you get this nice a distortion that kind of zooms in. Well, let's take a look at this first. So I've got these two clips here. I've got my two different dancers. And what I'm going to do is, let's close that out. I'm going to come down here to my BCC transitions. And I'm going to go to Crash Zoom Dissolve. I'm going to take Crash Zoom Dissolve. I'm going to drop that right between my clips. And already we've got some results. Let's pull up our screen here. There we go. And all right, so I've got all my
Say, Vin, can I ask you to pause there for a second. It doesn't look like the screen is updating.
Oh, it does not. Where are we at? Let's see.
You were just about to close that bin.
Interesting. Okay.
It seems to be frozen.
Maybe try to just stop screen sharing.
Yeah, let's try that.
Try that. Let's take this time to do my favorite part of the presentations, right? Uh-oh. Let's give away some prizes while Vin resets. How about let's give away a 1-year subscription to the Boris Effects bundle. Watching on Twitter at Ogriff79, at OGRIFF79. Watching on Twitter, congratulations. You win the Boris Effects bundle, which is Sapphire, Continuum, Mocha Pro, 1-year subscription. Congratulations. And also watching on the Boris Effects YouTube channel, Helsa Loki, you win the Boris Effects bundle, 1-year subscription to Sapphire, Continuum, Mocha. Keep up the great conversation in those forums, my friends. Helsa Loki, you win a 1-year subscription to Sapphire, Continuum, and Mocha Pro. Congratulations, Helsa, and congratulations at Ogriff79.
Nice prizes. Nice prizes.
Nice. Congratulations, guys. So, are we good? Let's see. Have we been able to? We showing some updating?
Looks good.
Fantastic.
Great job.
Looking good, Vin.
Alrighty. So as I was saying, what I do is I have a couple clips here. I've got 2 dancers, and I'm going to come through and I'm going to go to my transitions category. I'm going to go to crash, zoom, dissolve, and I'm just going to drop that right in there between my clips. And if I pull up my effect editor, not only do I have my parameters here, but you'll notice that I've got these lovely on-screen widgets, and these allow me to control the duration of the dissolve between the 2 clips, so I can make adjustments there if my computer wants to play along with me. So I can adjust how long it takes to dissolve between the effects, and I can then adjust sort of the ease curves to how quickly it goes through the transition and how quickly it eases in and out of the transition. So I can really go through and start to customize the look of the transition itself. Now, we're not talking about the look of the crash zoom itself, but this is controlling how one clip transitions and dissolves between the other. So now to control sort of what we can do for how we can customize crash, zoom, dissolve, we can come over here to our parameter count. Now, in terms of almost all of the continuum transitions, there are controls that are consistent between all of them. So whether I'm doing crash, zoom, dissolve, or whether I'm doing spin, blur, dissolve, which we'll see in a bit, or any of the others, there are certain things that are universal. One of them is the animation control, and that allows me to select from auto animation or percent done. And what happens if I select percent done, that allows me to keyframe the animation between that transition. So I can either auto animate it so that it'll use these zoom curves, ease curves, excuse me, or I can select percent done, in which case I would then go to Avid's keyframe editor and create the transition. I can keyframe between 0 and 100% done. For this demo, I'm just going to stick with the auto animation. And in here, we're going to have all the unique controls for crash zoom, but there's one more that I want to show you that is continuous for, or contiguous between all the transitions, and that is the region animation. And so right now, the region animation is listed by default as none, but there are different options here where you can animate in, animate out, or animate out and in. I'm going to select animate in. And when I do, I get a number of options where I can create a region. This region can either be a circle or a line. We'll leave it at a circle. And we can adjust the softness of that circle. So we'll create something like that. And that's going to allow us, play this back here. Oh, my system is being a little bit on the slow side here. But that's going to allow us to create this look where it zooms in and out, and you have this sort of wipe, a transition wipe where it's a circle. Let me just go back in here. We can show it with a line.
Always love those on-screen transition controls, Vin. Like me coming from a longtime Sapphire user, I remember the first time seeing those, I lusted for them. Very cool.
Oh, exactly. I love them. It makes it so much easier for me to actually control what's going on. And then again, it's the same thing with like the remover, where I don't want to have to spend all my energy looking over here at the parameters and then looking at the screen. I'm like, did that adjust right? Did I get that right? I can really kind of finesse it.
And guys, let's have a big shout out to Jason Clement for the great work that he did on that.
Jason, great
Jason
job,
did an
Jason.
amazing job. He
Yeah.
rocks.
The true heroes.
Right? Yeah, the behind the scenes guy who
Yeah.
makes things happen at Boris. He's brilliant. Great engineer.
Us three could probably barely do simple division. And
I know.
Shout
Well,
out.
did
to
you know?
Jason.
Fast fact: Jason Clement is actually an astrophysicist.
I did not know that.
Fantastic.
It's amazing.
We've got that.
Amazing. That's amazing. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Shout out. I mean, yeah, all the whole development team at Boris Effects all do a fantastic job. Sapphire, Silhouette, and Continuum.
Stellar. Great group of guys.
The true heroes behind the work. We just get up here and make pretty pictures, right? Those guys are figuring it all out behind the scenes.
Yeah,
we wouldn't be able to do it without the work they put into that.
Seriously.
That's right.
I lost my track of thought.
You're
totally
showing
Where was I?
We're writing love letters to developers up here.
Well, I think this is a great opportunity to show. Hey, well, maybe not. Let's do 2 factory installed preset folder.
Nice.
Yeah, so we can
browser
include it in all of the in sort of all of Continuum Effects is the FX browser, and that's going to let you sit here probably better than I can do and show you sort of just the different visual presets and styles that are available. It's not a very long clip, so these are going by fairly quickly, but you can see that you can create all kinds of different looks where it's zooming in. You're adjusting the color and the contrast. I'll show you those parameters in just a moment. I had mentioned sort of these region animations where it creates this this blowout look.
Very cool. Very cool.
And yeah, you can create really sort of all these unique looks in it. And the FX browser is available in everything. So all you have to, all the filters, and all you really need to do is you select a preset you want. You can sit here and you can preview it as we've done. There's a nice little history here in case you go, which one was I looking at? I don't remember. So you can kind of go through. And then all you have to do is hit apply, and it's going to update immediately for you right in the timeline.
Love that. I mean,
and then I think the great thing about presets, I like working with presets, but the thing that I always caution everybody is that presets are a way to start. They're a good way to, I mean, unless you absolutely
stepping stone, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless you absolutely are like, that's the preset that I'm going to go with, then they are stepping stones to creating your own effect. So I can come in here and I've selected this and I like the look of it. And I can come in here and say, okay, I really like it, but a little less on the prism. So let me pull back on the prism just a bit. And so that's going to, reduce, that's the sort of the displacement that you see there, the misalignment. Or I can increase it. I can say, hey, I really want a lot of prism looks.
Yep.
Or I really want to smooth that out.
Awesome.
And make that a much smoother, or create something that's more divided, more differentiated. I like the fact that it spirals, but I don't like the direction. So I can select reverse spin spiral, and that's going to actually reverse the direction of whatever spin that we hear. Or if I want to zoom in or zoom out, I can change the direction so that I'm updating the direction that it goes in. How far away it goes, I can adjust the delta for that transition. So I have a lot of control over the look. And actually, what, I can even come over here and say, it's great that it zooms into her face, but what if I wanted to create something where it sort of zooms off in a different direction. I can adjust the zoom point here, and let's see if we can get a little bit of a playback going here. So we can create almost this transition wipe where it grabs it and then just pulls it off the side of the screen. So you have a lot of leeway in creating sort of these various looks and effects. So because of this, I absolutely love sort of the look that you can get with Crash Zoom. I want to look at one other thing with Crash Zoom, and then we'll move over to Spin Blur. I'm going to jump into the FX browser briefly, select one of these, push away. And I think one of the things that you'll notice is that as it pushes away, we're getting this. Let's see if I can stop it on the right frame here. You're getting this tiled effect. And that's one of the options that's there, because as you sort of push away, let's see, where did it go? Animation tune, nope. This is where I deviated from my script, and there we go.
It's a brand new effect, man. I'm seeing it for the first time.
Still unreleased.
Yeah, no. I mean, these effects, these transitions are amazing. Like in another world, right? I was a sizzle editor, and I can't tell you how many times, trying to do a cold open for a show or dealing with a producer who hits you with that infamous like, oh, it's not working. Do you have any like editorial tricks you can do? Like having these transitions means so much. And me personally, sometimes I look at these transitions at like, at a second or something, and I'm like, I wouldn't use that. I'll tell everybody, drop that down to 6 frames, drop that down to 8 frames, and all of a sudden, like, you get a whole different look. Like
absolutely
seeing some of these that, you see super popular in Premiere right now too, this whole type of look. But having a proper transition and not like a preset project that is kind of ratchety and you have to keep replacing the base clip, having something you can just drag on a clip like a dissolve, you can share between different hosts, really is like really helps out.
And like I said, that I showed the tiled pattern, and if we come into sort of the prism look that's there, because it's pushing it out, this is the original source footage, and it's like, well, we've got all this space on the back for that zoom, so you can tile the effect where it's creating that sort of tiled look to it, or you can actually reflect it where it's creating this nice mirrored blurred edge, and that sort of fills in the area and gives you this nice dissolve between the two pieces of footage. So yeah, because of its versatility, I mean, Crash Zoom for me, I use it in all my tutorials and promos and a lot of the projects that I've been working on since we started developing this. So the last one that I want to show you that's new to Continuum 2020.5 is another really cool one. It is Spin Blur Dissolve. And so there's sort of some similarities, but Spin Blur Dissolve does exactly what it says on the tin, which is it spins and it blurs. And it creates this nice little vortex transition. And let's kind of go in here again, like like our we saw with Crash Zoom Dissolve. I can go in, I can adjust my ease curves exactly the same way. We've got this nice visual on-screen handle here. If I go into the FX browser, I do have a number of different options that become available to me, different presets that are there, and you can see I can have it spiral in like that. I could have it spiral in sort of in different directions, and this is a really, really nice way of sort of doing that transition. You can add in sort of these prism effects to create these unique looks. Is less of a push, it doesn't push out the same way you saw with Crash Zoom, but you have that nice blur, and you can reverse direction and then sort of reverse the look of that.
Such an awesome look.
It's such a fantastic look, and you can like as I did with the Crash Zoom, I can adjust. We could do prism amount. You can adjust how much it blurs. You can change where the like the direction of the blur. So let's say I want to adjust it and switch that around. So now it's going to spin in the other direction. I can change the center, the point, so where it spins to and from, so that it can center in and around this point over here. So I can just grab my widget and move it up here. And Avid catches up with me. And it will actually start to, as it moves through the transition, it will start to spin into that location. So you have full control over the look, where its destination points are, how that is transitioning. And again, as with all of the effects that are part of Continuum, I highly recommend utilizing that FX browser, not just because it gives you a great stepping stone, but it also can, kind of say, you can look at that and go, whoa, wait a minute, how do I do that? That's something that's in there. And then it can allow you to look and say, oh, I didn't know that this was possible in this effect. And you can really start to play with the various parameters that are in there to create animations that are, just unique and radically different from a lot of stuff that you're seeing out there. But are there any questions about new transitions or removal or anything like that?
Such a cool look, Vin. Such a cool look. Some questions from the audience that I can answer as well, or you can. But what's like the difference between the Continuum effect browser and Sapphire builder? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the effect browser is just to browse presets.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And
So
go
with
ahead.
the FX browser, these are either factory installed presets that exist there, or you can actually save your own, and you save them to the You can save them to the library. They'll pop up here, and you can just select them, use them. You can preview them on the animated, on the actual footage, and give you a sense of what that looks like.
Cool. Obviously that similar functionality is part of the Sapphire builder, but then it goes and does a whole lot more with creating custom looks, custom plugins,
Mhm.
and dynamic parameter driven. A lot of people always ask the same question of like, which should I get, Sapphire or Continuum? Like, such a hard question to answer. Our marketing line is, of course, you should get both. But no, to be all honest, because I was an editor for quite a long time, and a compositor and a motion graphics artist. It's all about what you're comfortable with. Like, the two products definitely do different things. Like, if you're looking for like 3D type, right, Pete? If you're looking for keying, particles, like image restoration, these are areas Continuum is super strong in, right? Just
Big time, big
really,
time.
really crushes it in those categories, like keying, particles, like things almost that that don't exist in your NLE, that you really have to reach to a third-party plugin for. Sapphire really strong in lighting effects, lens flares, kind of VFX, like that, like high-end sexiness, like that glitz, little hot glints, and all those kind of music video effects as well. But it's also about what you're more comfortable in. I always tell people, like, if you've been using Fast Film Glow for years, like, go continue to use Fast Film Glow, right? Because like, you're going to jump into Sapphire Glow and things are going to look different. Parameters are named different. They're different products. So it's all about what you're comfortable in. Me personally, I always wanted everything that like everyone makes, because like the job you guys do out there is so hard. If you can use a plugin to save yourself 5 minutes a day times 5, right? That's like a real ROI. And I always kind of wanted everything on the planet, to help me out doing that type of sizzle editing.
Hey, Brian, one thing I'd offer up there is, I mean, think back years ago when Sapphire was a part of the company Gen Arts and Continuum. I was from Boris FX, and you and I would like closely monitor each other's new effects and moves. And Sapphire, Brian would come up with a new like Sapphire filter. I'm like, they beat us on that one. So I turned to Boris and like, oh, look, they've got this new filter in Sapphire. What are we going to do? And Boris say, well, take a look at it and see what we have, and if we have a way to improve on that. So I'd go to engineering, we'd build a new filter, and so we would compete back and forth like this. They do that to us, we do that to them. Now we're all under the same umbrella. So what I'm getting to here is, one question that comes up quite frequently is, well, are you going to like stop developing one or the other? Or are they going to become just like one big filter package? And the answer is no. We're going to differentiate more. So we're going to do the opposite of what we used to do. We used to compete against each other. Now we're going to move together and further differentiate the two packages so that they can be better positioned for somebody that just wants one or just wants the other, or like easier to know like which one do I get, or of course the ultimate answer, well, gosh, I need both now because they're so different.
Sure. Yeah. No. And talking about, I mean, Pete's hinting at, right, brain share. right?
Mhm.
Too like having all the teams, you know, collaborating together is amazing. You know, with like we talked about those on-screen controls for transitions, right? Like, you know, I may have been told that like there's no way to do that. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Like, you know, and then like, oh well, now we can actually, you know, talk amongst ourselves. Okay, so how do you guys do that? How do you do a transition between, you know, two different Mac keys, two different title keys in Avid or something like that? How'd you guys figure that out? So like having that brain share really makes like the both products better. And you know who results from
Sure.
this? Obviously the end user, right? Because
Sure.
Pete's
I mean,
right.
and
Like
and
you
also think like the other companies that have come under the Boris umbrella, like not just
Mhm.
Silhouette and Sapphire,
Imagineer,
that, but
yep,
Mocha, and so now not
yep,
only does Continuum have Mocha, but Sapphire has Mocha, and so you can take a project from Sapphire, take that Mocha project out of there, and just like merge it in, like you saw Vin do earlier on, merge in a project that was
yeah,
saved out of a different filter and a different host.
yeah.
It's great.
So true, right? I remember like number one feature request for Sapphire was always tracking,
Yeah.
and I remember when Boris acquired GenArts, Gary and I hugged because like we don't have to create a tracker anymore. You know, now we get to put the world's best tracker of Mocha and stuff, and we don't have to spend months and months, and we can, you know, free ourselves up to do what we want to do, which is like some of like the more classic, sexy, new Sapphire effects. All right, so we were running super long, so let's give away some prizes. Vin, can you do me a favor and stop sharing your screen?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Vin. Great job, by the way. Awesome
Great job,
presentation.
Vin.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and let me jump into gallery and I'll stop there. Okay. So we already gave away the 2 seats of the Boris Effects bundle, the 1-year sub to at Ogriff79 and Helsa Loki on YouTube. Let's give away the registration for a summer class at School of Motion goes to Kelly M. watching on YouTube. Congratulations, Kelly M. You will enjoy that immensely. Really take your motion graphics training to the next level with those guys. Amazing, amazing training at School of Motion. Edgar Davis on YouTube wins the Acusinos ERA 4 Bundle Pro. Amazing audio plugins. Congratulations to Edgar Davis. Brian Howlett on Facebook, watching on Facebook, wins a 1-year subscription to Silhouette. Congratulations, Brian Howlett. Oh God, yeah, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this one. This is definitely Jeff playing a prank on me.
Nice.
So Derek, Derek watching on Twitter. It is, I'll try and pronounce it, at Subasaic, or it is at SZUBECZAK, at SZUBEZCAK. Wins a 1-year subscription to Silhouette Paint. Congratulations to Derek in parentheses on Twitter. And Omri Efrat on Facebook. That is OMRIEFRAT. Wins a 1-year subscription to Avid Media Composer. Congratulations to Omri, and I apologize for butchering the pronunciation. Congratulations to all our winners. Coming up next at 3 o'clock, we are going to deep dive Mocha Pro with a special guest, Ruban Rodas, aka Big, from Crafty Apes. He is an amazing VFX supervisor, worked on a whole bunch of feature films and TV shows, longtime Mocha Pro user. He's going to join Mary Poplin and Ross Shane at 3 o'clock along with myself. So definitely tune in, take a break, grab a water, grab lunch, right? Or come back and see us at 3 o'clock. Once again, thank you to Vin and Peter. Thank you, Vin. Amazing presentation. Lots of love online. A lot of people really loving it. Great job as always.
And
So that'll
great job to you too, Brian. Thank you for
thank
being
you.
such a wonderful
Thank
presenter.
you. Thank you. We didn't we at least this one went live. So thank you so much, everyone. We will be back at 3 o'clock. And once again, the Boris Effects NAB sale is currently happening. So if you want to upgrade to Continuum, 25% off. Right now, everything Vin showed you, those new transitions. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you at 3 o'clock. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.